Okay, and now I'm going to be talking about the internal features of the brain. A lot of them will be a review from the external, just a different view from looking at it from the interior. So, the first thing I'm going to touch on is obviously uh, the largest and the most recognized areas of the brain. So, first, we're going to talk about the cerebrum. The cerebrum is that spot in there that honestly it looks like worms. That's how I think of it whenever I look at it. And then this is the cerebellum. The cerebellum is relatively large whenever we look at it from the inside of the brain. Then we have the brainstem here, which is the area that, it's the cranial nerves, and then it'll spread down, going down into the spine, and spread out from there, and it's the spinal nerves. And then it is also easier to see the pineal gland from the inside of the brain. And that is right here. That is in that little area. That's the pineal gland. Then I'm going to talk about the ventricles. There are the third and fourth ventricles I'm going to touch on. Both of those are obviously, they regulate blood flow to the brain. So the third ventricle is found right up at the top of this area here. And you can kind of see that little indent. That would be the third ventricle. And the fourth ventricle is actually found right here. If you can kind of see that area, that is the fourth ventricle right on the top. So then the medulla oblongata and the pons are pretty easy to see in here. The medulla oblongata is this little piece here. You can kind of see where they're separated. It's just falling apart. So that's the medulla oblongata, followed by the pons. And then the midbrain is found right here. You can kind of see that area. That's the midbrain. So then we have the corpora quadrigemina, and that is this area right in here, this higher area. And then we saw the pituitary gland that follows that right here. That is that area right in here. This is the pituitary gland. And then right above that is the hypothalamus. And then above that area is the thalamus. So then we can see the choroid plexus of lateral ventricle. So that is actually this area right here. If you can see that little red area, that is where that choroid plexus of right ventricle is found, or of the, sorry, not right ventricle, excuse me, the lateral ventricle. And then the corpus callosum is found right here. That is that area. You can see that right where my hand is. Excuse the gloves, I know it's kind of difficult to see with me pointing my fingers with the gloves on. So that should cover the internal anatomy of the brain. I did find this activity very, very exciting and very helpful. And I cannot wait to just keep exploring and seeing what else I can find. Thanks.